In Unit 6.4, we're going to be finding the area of different quadrilaterals that we've learned about in the whole unit. So we started by learning about the parallelograms. When you're doing parallelograms, to find the area, it's super simple. You just do base times height. The height has to be the perpendicular line that goes from the top to the bottom bases. For rectangle and square area, just base times height. Now, when you have a rhombus and a kite, if you look at those two, they're similar. When you have a rhombus and a kite, you're going to take your two diagonals, your diagonal 1, your diagonal 2, you're going to multiply them and then divide by 2. So same formula for rhombus and kites. Trapezoids is a little more steps. If you remember when we learned about trapezoids, we learned about something called the median. So with the median, you took the base 1 plus base 2 and divided by 2. Now to get the area of a trapezoid, you're actually doing the median times the height. So you're doing base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2, and then multiplying that times the height of that trapezoid. We're going to be using this formula chart to help us find the area of different quadrilaterals. So I'll be referring back and forth to it as we do our questions. So here in question 1, if you look at this picture, we have a square. So I'm going to use the formula for square, which is base times height. Here they're telling us AB is 7 feet. And we know all the sides of a square are the same. And I'm going to go ahead and label my base and height in this picture. So now if I plug in, I'm doing 7 times 7, which is 49. And remember, this is area. So instead of being just feet, the units will be feet squared. In our next example, we have a rhombus. So we look up the formula for area of a rhombus. We're going to do diagonal 1 times diagonal 2 and divide by 2. Here PR equals 11 yards. That's going to be one of our diagonals, so I can call that diagonal 1. QS equals 12 yards. That's going to be another diagonal here. I'll call that diagonal 2. So now I can plug into my formula. So I'm going to multiply my diagonal 1 times my diagonal 2 and divide by 2. So if we do 11 times 12, that comes out to 132. And if we divide that by 2, that comes out to 66. So our area is going to be 66 yards squared. In our next picture, we have a rectangle. Rectangles are simple. So here our KL is 10 inches. This means NM is also 10 inches. LM is 4 inches. That means KN is also 4 inches. So again, in this one we had a rectangle. Formula for rectangle is base times height. So here my base is 10, my height is 4. So my area would be 40 inches squared. In this next example, we have a kite. For kites, the formula for area is the same as for a rhombus. You're going to take your diagonal 1, multiply your diagonal 2, and divide by 2. So here WY equals 9 yards. I'm going to call that my diagonal 1. And then ZX is equal to 6 yards. I'm going to call that my diagonal 2. And then I can plug into the formula to find my area. So the formula is to take diagonal 1, multiply diagonal 2, and divide by 2. If I do this, this simplifies to 27. And since its area is my units or yards squared. The next example, we have a trapezoid. For a trapezoid, to get the area, You do base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2, then multiply the height. So let's look at our picture here. AB is 7 inches. EC is 9 inches. That's the whole bottom. So this is my base 1. This is my base 2. And then AD equals 5 inches. AD is right here. That's my height. So now that I know my values, I can start plugging into my formula. So my base 1 is 7. Base 2 is 9. My height is 5. 7 plus 9 is 16. 16 divided by 2 is 8. And 8 times 5 is 40. So my area is going to be 40 inches squared. So all of this is just identifying your shape, choosing the correct formula, plugging in, simplifying. So in our next shape here, we have a parallelogram. For parallelogram, the formula for area is base times height. Here they say XV is 13 feet. That's the top here. That means our bottom here is also 13 feet. That's our base. And then WT equals 2 feet in the picture. WT is the height. So our base is 13, our height is 2. So if I do base times height, I get 26 feet squared. Question 7 is a rhombus. We said the formula for area of a rhombus was diagonal 1 times diagonal 2 divided by 2. Here they're saying EG is 20 inches. I'm going to let that be my diagonal 1. And then FH is 18 inches. I'm going to let that be my diagonal 2. So I'm going to do diagonal 1 times diagonal 2 divided by 2. 20 times 18 is 360. I divide that by 2, I get 180. So my area is 180 inches squared. This next picture is a square. Area of a square is base times height. Here ST is 3 feet, but since it's a square, all the sides are going to be equal to 3 feet. So our base times our height, 3 times 3 is 9, or 9 feet squared. And then our last picture here is a trapezoid. Remember, area of a trapezoid, we do base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2 times the height. So here, YU equals 8 yards. XV, this side here, is 15 yards. And WZ equals 16 yards. If you look carefully at this picture, it's like they tilted the trapezoid over. So 8 yards is going to be our base 1, 15 yards is going to be our base 2, and the 16 yards is actually our height. It's like they tipped it over. So if I plug into the formula, for base 1, I'm going to plug in 8. For base 2, 15. And for height, 16. So 8 plus 15 is 23. I'm going to divide that by 2. That comes out to 11.5. And then 11.5 times 16 comes out to 184. So here the area is 184 yards squared. So again, here you're just using your formulas. You identify your shape, use your formula, plug in. And then remember, for units, your area is always going to be squared.